The second episode of Archetypes with Meghan was released today, and of course, the featured guest is Miss Mariah Carey. Now, last week's episode was all about the word ambition. This week, it's all about Diva. More specifically, the duality of Diva. Now, I really enjoyed the deep dive into the origins of the word Diva. Originally, something positive and uplifting was somehow hijacked and turned into something negative and mean. You hear the word diva, and some people associate that with being high maintenance or any number of negative things. And I loved how Mariah said or showed that her life is all about taking the word diva and a lot of the other negative labels directed at her and flipping it, turning it on its head, having fun with it, and reclaiming it. The most enjoyable aspect of this week's episode for me was the conversations between Mariah and Meghan as two biracial women. I really enjoyed the lighthearted conversations and exchanges about growing up with their different biracial families, their experiences, the good and the bad, even talking about curly hair maintenance. Meghan shared the products that she used, and it was really fun and something that I can relate to because the products that she listed are products that my mother used on me growing up. And so I really enjoy that. Again, the flow of the conversation between Mariah and Meghan was really fun and delightful. I was wondering what it would feel like because I know that Meghan and Serena are actually friends, but Mariah and Meghan aren't. And I was delightfully surprised at just how sweet and playful Mariah interacts with Meghan. I really enjoyed that aspect of the show. Now, deep diving further into their lived experiences as biracial women, they went into colorism, the good aspects and the bad, really focusing on the differences of how their skin color influenced how they were treated or accepted in different spaces. She talked about Halle Berry and how someone had asked Halle Berry about what it feels like to be biracial, and Halle basically said, well, I've always experienced my experiences, have always been that of a black woman because that's the way people treat me because I am a darker biracial woman. And Meghan and Mariah are basically lighter skinned biracial women. So there's a racial ambiguity there. And I loved how they really went into that topic of conversation being self-aware of the privileges that came with them being on the lighter spectrum. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people of color can understand and relate to. And even if you're not biracial, but if you're like a black person who is lighter skinned, there are some spaces and some people that will treat you differently than someone who's darker. A lot of my other friends and coworkers who are of different races have also talked about their experiencing some semblance of colorism within their own race. And I always found that very interesting. And I feel like a lot of people tiptoe around colorism within race, but it's a very important conversation, and I don't think that it has to be nasty or something to shy away from. It's just a part of life. But I really enjoy the conversation of them saying, there are certain parts in my life and certain doors that are opened because I'm on the lighter scale. And then Meghan shared, really experiencing what it feels like to be a black woman when getting in a relationship with Harry. And there are some people on social media that seem to be rubbed the wrong way by this admission, but I don't get why they would be, because I get what she's saying. She's basically talking about the one drop rule, where, for some people, it doesn't matter if you're biracial, if you have one parent that is black or whatever. This is the race that you are labeled as. And Mariah even spoke about that. She was like, I don't think being biracial is a bad thing. I am biracial. I'm not black. I'm not white. I'm not this. I'm not that. This is who I am, a combination of the two. And she even talked about people feeling the need to put you in a box and being upset when you don't put yourself in a box. So the conversation was lighthearted and it flowed very well, but they touched on some serious issues about race, So it raised a lot of conversation on social media. And one of the things that I really love about this podcast so far is the amount of conversations that are happening. Last week, there were a lot of conversations about ambition and a lot of women sharing their experiences and really talking about how horrible their ambition to learn, to grow, to put themselves out there was seen in a negative light. And now we're having people having conversations about race and what it means to be biracial, talking about colorism. Some people still being a little iffy about it. But I feel like there are topics in life where that's just the way it goes. Race, politics, religion, sexuality. You talk about it and some people just immediately go onto defense, without even listening and trying to understand and have an open mind about it. But I applaud both of these ladies for just sitting and having that conversation and saying, yeah, it's a part of life. I'm both of these things. And sometimes it works for the better and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people see that as a negative. And I genuinely enjoyed that aspect of the conversation. What do you guys think? Did you listen to it? And if you haven't, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Now, if you have listened to it, don't forget to rate if you haven't already. It's pretty simple. You can do it on the Spotify app. Pull it out, click on the 3 dots, and rate. Very simple. Now, Mariah shared a lot of tidbits about her formative years and her childhood, her mother, who was an opera singer, and her father. And they talked about the living legend Mary Violet Price, who was the first American soprano, the first African-American soprano to receive international acclaim. And she had a very long-standing association with the Metropolitan Opera. I had never heard about Miss Price ever, so it was such a treat to learn about such an influential and amazing woman, a diva in the most amazing way. Comedian and actress Amanda Seales was also featured on this week's episode. So if you love the ever outspoken Amanda Seales, be sure to check out this week's episode. She talked about her experiences with the positive and negative connotations associated with the word diva. Next week's guest is the incredible actress Mindy Kaling. I'm so excited to hear what she has to say. I've always been a fan of Mindy for quite a long time, so I'm looking forward to listening to the conversation between Mindy and Meghan. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.